Good afternoon, Shawn here with Accelerators Organization, ready for another mentor session. Okay, let's get this thing going. These are questions that have been submitted by AO members in our portal. So you are either watching this on our YouTube channel or you're watching this in the Facebook group. Or you got an email where we sent you the answer to your questions. So let's get this thing started. Okay, I'm pumped. The first question comes from Ips. What should I pay a person weekly to manage my social media accounts and website? The background is I'm a small startup and he's good with building websites but has never managed social media, so I'm wondering how much should I pay him? Okay, that's a pretty vague question. I'm gonna have a couple other mentors answer this, but I'm gonna give a crack at this one because that's kind of hard to answer that question because whenever you're going to pay someone to do something, it really depends on the scope of work, the skill they have, how much they're going to do, and what they're going to do. So this is probably a pretty impossible question to answer and give you the perfect advice because there's just not enough information. First off, I wouldn't pay someone to do my social media if they don't know how to do it. Like, that's just, in my experience as a business person, that would be a complete waste of time and a waste of my money. So I wouldn't want somebody managing my social media if they've never done that before. Because either A, I'm gonna have to train them how to do it, which means then I'm actually paying to educate him and he should be paying me for that advice and teaching. So I just think this is everything that you asked here is pretty much all backwards and wrong. The second thing is, there's a difference between managing somebody's social media, creating content, posting comment, engaging with direct messages and comments, how many platforms they're going to post to, how often they're going to post. There's so much that goes into managing social media that I would really need to understand what the scope of work is. The hardest part and the most expensive part of social media is the creation of content. That's the most expensive part. And that can cost you thousands of dollars thousands of dollars a month, depending on how much content you want someone to post. So I would need a lot more information about this. You may want to book a get out of jail call with me so we can talk about this, or tune into my next monthly branding session and we can talk about this more in detail. But this is very vague. There's a lot more that needs to be done to be able to answer this question. Okay, the next question comes from Ips, and she says, how can I get college students to follow me on social media? The background is I work in a business plaza where there is a college and swarming with college students. How can I get them to my website or follow me on social media? Should I do small giveaways, pass out a QR code, stickers, or what? Okay, I'm going to have some other mentors answer this because they might be able to take a crack at this as well. Sounds like just too vague of a strategy for marketing. I need to understand when you put in here, we need to understand what kind of business you have. Like, I don't even understand I don't know what business you have, what you do, what product you sell, what service you offer. I need a little bit more information to give myself and the mentors to really understand how we can give you some advice on strategies. So on this question, I really don't know how to answer it. In fact, I'm not even going to get this to any other mentors. Based on the last two questions you just asked, would you please just book a get out of jail call with me in the portal, because it sounds like we need to talk, because both of these questions are very vague and impossible to answer based on the information that you've given me, and you know I want to help you out, so please book a call with me and let's talk about this, okay? The next question comes from Joe the Home Pro, and Joe says, what am I allowed and not allowed to do with a 1099 independent contractor as far as providing computers, company phone, etc.? The background is I own a home inspection and home watch company in Naples, Florida. In order to grow, I need to meet more realtors. I am bringing onto my team a telemarketing position. They will be classified as a 1099 team member. Am I allowed to give them a company phone and or laptop, or do they need to use their own since they're a 1099? This new position will allow me to be introduced to several hundred a week. Okay, I've got some accounting and HR people and some other mentors that have experience with this. I don't remember the law as it relates to being careful with ICs, but let me tell you this. When we're running small businesses and we are contracting people, it is not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not out of the ordinary for us to provide someone a laptop, and it's not out of the norm for us to break the rules of what we can and can't do for 1099 and W-2. It's not out of the norm. In your situation, since I know it, I would say you'd probably be okay providing, a computer and a phone and so forth, but I'm going to get Marcia and a couple other people to answer this one for you, because the thing you have to worry about when doing this, when working with 1099 workers and working with W-2 people, is you have to worry about with 1099 workers doing too much so that the IRS would actually classify them as a W-2 employee, and then you could get hit with fines and penalties and back taxes where you should be matching their Social Security and FICA and Medicare. So it depends on how serious you want to get about it. My gut instinct says that you can't provide those things, but I really want the other mentors that have real life experience with this to answer, because I know enough to be dangerous, and I cross the line in small businesses all the time. But I want you to stay, I want you to get the real answers. So I got some other people that are going to answer this for you. God, I feel like I'm not able to answer any of these questions that we're doing so far on this mentor session. I'm feeling frustrated. Okay, the next question comes from Terry, and Terry says, what's the best resource to build an e-commerce site on a budget? The background is I'm wanting a professional, simple looking site for about 12 products or less. I have zero experience with e-commerce, but have branding done by my graphic designer. She says she has built a couple sites on Shopify, but it's new to her as well. What are your thoughts on hiring a person or group advertising they can do this? What about support after it's built? I was hoping I could get a site and ads built in order to launch for under $5,000. Is that realistic? Being able to look as professional online as my future natural beauty brand competitors is going to be important, but I want to start slow and grow. Okay, I've got a couple other mentors that are going to answer this as well. It is so common that we as entrepreneurs say, I don't want something fancy, I want something simple. The Apple logo is simple, and they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. When you talk with designers and you're like, I just want something simple. Well, simple is subjective, and sometimes simple can be just as expensive as complicated. Graphic design is all over the place and subjective when working with different graphic designers. But what I can tell you is this. Before you build out your e-commerce website, it's important to have a brand identity kit and a brand style guide done before. And that could cost you a few $1,000s. This is going to be your logo, your color palette, and your typography, and then a style guide of how to use everything. And graphic designers that do style guides will be able to explain to you what that looks like. I would say a good logo, not too expensive but not too cheap, is somewhere around $900 to $1,000. And then a brand style guide and identity kit, maybe another $1,500 to $2,500. And that's on the low end. It can get as high as $25,000 to $50,000 with a good agency. And of course, it's usually what you pay is what you get. So you're not going to get a $50,000 brand style guide and whole packaging and everything for $5,000. But sometimes when you're just starting out, you don't need that. Once you have the brand style guide, the logo, and the brand identity kit, it's actually easier for the person who's going to design your website your Shopify store or your WooCommerce store, because there are templates and there are widgets and all kinds of things that make it easy to implement your style guide and brand identity kit that makes it easier for someone building your store. And listen, there's two parts to a website. There's the design, which is the front end, the user interface, the GUI, whatever you want to call it. This is what people see. Then there's the programming code on the back end that people don't see. The design is the expensive part. It is actually very inexpensive, 15 bucks an hour, a couple $100, if your graphic designer puts together a full design of what you want your website to look like and then hands that off to a Shopify developer. It's actually not that expensive to do the development, programming side. The hard part's the design side. I would certainly, as it relates to Shopify stores, I would find someone who has experience developing the Shopify store itself and then working with a designer on the design elements. And you probably need to find someone who understands designing a website specifically in the realm of an e-commerce store. Here's some good advice that will help you, okay? It's good advice because I'm giving it to you, just kidding. When you work with a web designer, they're always going to ask you, do you have a brand style guide? Do you have an identity kit? Do you have a logo? Yes, you want to have that. That's the bare basics. The next thing they're going to say is what are all the components that you have, that you want on your website? I would urge you to go find 3 to 5 different websites that you like. What parts of those websites, what functionality, what sections that you like about each and every one of them. And that way, when you meet with your web developer, web designer, you can say, here are 5 websites I like. Here are the things I like on each one. And that way they'll know what ingredients to put on your site, and it will make it that much easier for them. The hardest part for graphic designers and web designers is just you knowing what you want on the sites. So think about everything you want. What sections? Contact us, shop now, imagery, listings, all the different things that you want on your site, pop-up boxes, enter an email, all those things that you want. Find all those features that you want on your website ahead of time so that you can then let the person that you're going to get a quote for the website, they're going to know exactly what you want, and they can give you a quote to deliver exactly what you want. A lot of times with website development, we don't give a clear enough scope of work to the designers, and that's where the relationship can go sideways, is because as entrepreneurs, we start going, oh wait, I want to add this, and I want to add this, and I want to add this, and it creates this mess. So go out there and follow these directions, and then if you need introductions to a designer for your brand identity kit or style guide, I've got a good designer I can put you in touch with, but you're probably looking at about $2,500 for a logo and identity kit and style guide. And I wouldn't, if you find someone that can do it for less, I'm always a little bit concerned that they might not be good. And you don't want to go cheap on your branding, because that's the difference between being able to sell at a higher price or a lower price and compete, okay? Lots to unpack there. I hope that helps, Terry. Okay, the next question comes from Shirley, and Shirley says, I have an LLC. Can I open up multiple businesses non-related to one that is operating within the LLC? The background is I have a management business, but wanted to open up a mobile dog grooming business under the same LLC under a DBA if possible. No. One business, LLC, legal business entity, one DBA. So if you have a management business LLC, doing business as that management company, great. Now you can have an LLC called anything. It doesn't matter what the legal LLC is called, it can do business as Shirley's Dog Grooming. But you would not want to have a management company, a dog grooming business, or real estate company, an e-commerce business. You wouldn't want to have it all under one. You would want to have separate business entities, whatever the DBA is, doing business as, for each one. You wouldn't want to have multiple. I've got a couple, actually, that's just the answer. I'm not going to have any other other mentors answer that one for you. Okay, the next question comes from Alex, and Alex says, should I create an employee handbook? I was thinking about how I am transitioning into a better leader and manager. Should I create a handbook for my workers so they know things are changing and I'm shifting my attitude and mindset towards new goals or how the business should be run? I've got a bunch of other mentors answering this for you, some of them that have implemented handbooks and we've helped them in that process. The answer is yes. And the reason for a handbook is to help your team member know what to expect for the company. What's the pay? What is the vacation and paid time off policies? There's a whole bunch of things. I'm not an expert on handbooks, but there's a whole bunch of things. And every business, when you start to hire people, every business should have a handbook. Now, it also depends on the relationship that you have with your team members. If they're 1099 workers and you're paying them in cash, or they're just 1099, then you don't need a handbook. But if these are W-2 employees, then yes, you should have a handbook. And Marcia, who is your human resources mentor, she can help you put together a handbook. If you'll send me an email, I can get you an email introduction to her, and her company can help you with that process. Okay? But yes, the answer is yes. When you have employees that are W-2, you should have a handbook. All right, the next question comes from Robin, and Robin says, in your opinion, is it a good idea to leave a business card for people to find? The background is working as an artist on location where there is a bench for people to sit. I'm thinking of leaving a business card to connect with people who are interested in sunrise and sunset. Thank you. I am really confused at this question, Robin. Do you mean after you leave, just leave a business card on the bench? Or are you talking about while you are painting and they're watching you, you having a stand with business cards? So I'm a little confused at your question. I think, of course, and I think we've answered this question for you before, while you are doing your painting on your easel, you should for sure have things for sale, contact information, maybe a QR code, your social media profiles, and all kinds of things for people to get a hold of you to buy your art. Leaving one just on the bench after you leave, probably not. Okay? Okay, and the last question comes from Ricardo, and Ricardo says, how can I switch my business from paying 1099 contractors to making them employees? The background is I own a barbershop and I want to start paying the contractors as employees. Can I still pay them a commission-based pay, or is there a way I can pay them a salary, then add commission on top of their pay? Thank you. I've got some of our other mentors answering this that are CPAs, bookkeepers, and another couple mentors that have done this as well. The answer is you just want to get with your CPA or bookkeeper and set that up in your bookkeeping software. And yes, you can switch people from 1099 over to employees. That just means you're going to withhold taxes, and you're going to pay Social Security, Medicare taxes for them. You're going to withhold their federal taxes, and you're going to submit that to the IRS. Yes, you can build incentive compensation and commission and bonuses and all those types of things. If you plan to do this, I would 100% hire Tyler McBroom. He's one of your mentors. I would hire their company for your bookkeeping and your taxes to help you with this, because you're going to have to file quarterly. There's a lot more stuff you're going to have to do as a business owner from a tax and filing perspective. I would 100% hire them. Ricardo, send me an email and I'll get you an email introduction to Tyler's team, and you should hire them. I think this is a great idea to build brand loyalty and employee loyalty, but you and I have talked about this in the past. There's a lot of shift going on inside salons and barbershops around people just wanting to rent. So I do like this strategy of you trying to do this. My only thought is I wonder if you are bucking the trend. So this may be a conversation for us to have, but yes, you can accomplish all those things, no problem. Shoot me an email and I would certainly hire Tyler and them to help you, okay? All right, that's today's mentor session. Hey, Robin, good to see you. Hope you guys enjoyed this and got some value. One of the things I'm going to finish up with this for those that do watch this is, if these questions are indicative of small business ownership, of what you don't know, you just don't know, there is an art to asking questions and being able to get good answers. The better your question and the more detailed your question, the background of it, the better it's going to be for us mentors to be able to answer these. If you ever get completely stuck, don't hesitate to book a call with me. Make sure you join the monthly Zooms where you can go into a little bit more detail, but a little bit of ambiguity on some of these questions. So it leads me to believe that there's a lot more training that needs to be done by those of you that are asking some of these questions. And so just keep asking questions, keep getting answers. If you ever get to where you're just completely feeling stuck, just book a call with me, okay? Hope you have a great day, and I will see you on the next mentor session. Peace out.